The opinions expressed in the Brothers-in-Law show are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for personal professional legal advice.
Thanks for tuning in to Brothers-in-Law on Go Country 105. I'm Larry Mandell.
And I'm Rob Mandell.
And we've been trial attorneys here in Los Angeles for over 40 years.
On our show, we will discuss current events, talk about legal issues, and have some very entertaining guests stop by. So stay tuned every week for Brothers-in-Law right here on Go Country 105. All right, well, welcome to the Brothers-in-Law show. I'm Rob Mandell.
And I'm Larry Mandell.
And, we're so happy to follow Debbie the Mortgage Mom. She's just got a great show. What do you think, Larry?
Very informative.
Right. So very informative indeed. Larry, do you remember when, and maybe people should know, we're children of the Beatles generation. That's us.
Yeah.
And when we were kids, like when I was like 8 years old or whatever, you just had to try and be like that.
Oh, yeah. You'd get the Beatle outfit. I had the Beatle outfit. I had the Beatle haircut.
All right.
And
you got to play an instrument. That's the thing.
Hang on. And I played the guitar.
All right.
And our sixth grade stage performance was I was one of the Beatles. We lip sync. For the Beatles, and that was our show.
Did you play anything, actually play?
Well, I played guitar, but then we were just lip syncing.
All right. Well, what I was trying to say is that it kind of inspired a generation of musicians, is what it did.
No doubt.
Don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
And I became a lifelong musician. I know that you kind of tinkered on guitar a little bit, but anyway, and you were playing drums. Do you remember that?
I was playing
pounding
drums.
away.
I love pounding away on those drums. And that's a good segue for somebody that we have here today, our guest.
Who do we have?
We have, good morning, Bob Kasha.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Bob is Big Bang and a head drumsticks and multiple products. And we're going to talk to him about how he started his business and what he does with his business today.
And his business is? Tell us about it, Bob.
Well, we manufacture drum products, and we're all about new, innovative drum things. So right now we distribute about 1,800 products. We manufacture maybe 1,000 of those.
Wow.
A lot of them are manufactured right here in Northridge, California.
No kidding. That's where our office used to be.
Yeah, right. That's where I met you guys.
Oh, no
25
kidding.
years ago.
That's where I met Bob. And actually, how did we meet, Bob?
Well, I think at the time I got T-boned by a person, and it kind of hurt me.
Right there on Business Center Drive? Or?
No, around the corner. It's always 1 mile from where you're at, right?
Yeah.
But that's how we met. And then later, I think the 94 earthquake, I had 2 retail stores, music shops, and I was probably the only music store that had insurance for earthquake. I specifically ordered it, and right after the earthquake,
ahead thinking right there.
I was, because I was deadly afraid of earthquakes.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
So I when I went to claim, when I walked into one of our stores, and I had 300 guitars on the floor, and drum sets everywhere, Marshall amplifiers on the ground. Everything was just sticks and broken parts.
Oh my God.
And it was devastating. So I called the insurance company the next day, and they said, "Oh, no, we canceled your insurance." And I go, "What? I didn't get a letter." "No, you didn't cancel." "No, you did." So I went to the insurance commissioner. They told me, "Can't help you," whatever. And 9 months later, I'm getting ready to file bankruptcy.
Wow.
I was also doing the head drumsticks at the time, and I was working with Easton at the time, developing the sticks. And I drove by the warehouse where we were still at now, that right by your building. I said, I got to go knock on his door.
So you just saw our sign outside?
And I went out there and I go,
Talk about hanging out a shingle.
I have no money. I said, "Can you help me?" He writes 1 letter, and the very next day they flew out with a $100,000 check and got me started.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Larry, you're a better lawyer than I thought, man.
I mean, he wrote a scary letter.
Start thinking, dude.
And it really worked, and it saved us. And shortly thereafter, we got everything resolved. They actually had a company come and take all the guitars and everything that was broken, and then we wound up selling the business later on that year.
So what you're saying is my brother saved you from bankruptcy?
He cranked. It was
Wow.
awesome.
With a magic bullet letter.
It was just a letter.
Wow. Hey, but
amazing.
that's the power of law behind
Justice.
you.
The
you know?
power of justice.
Right.
The power of justice. Right.
So, after that, I sold the business, and I was always into developing new products. I actually worked with Easton. They make the baseball bats and the hockey sticks, and they were developing a drumstick. And it turned out one of my students was the developer, the engineer. And he asked me to get involved, and they hired me on as a consultant. And I worked with them for about a year, and we fine-tune the sticks, as I was a big hater of synthetic drumsticks. I just go, this is not something I want to do. But I actually got involved with them, and then maybe 5 or 6 years later, they were breaking up the company. I think Jim Easton decided, hey, I'm going to retire. He sold off the bats and the hockey sticks and all that stuff. And,
No kidding.
And I wound up buying the product line from them.
Wow.
So from then on, I developed the Ahead brand and started adding new products and just grew the business. And that's what we focus
That's
on.
amazing. Tell us a little bit about your drumsticks. They're different than the traditional wood sticks.
Oh, they are. It's got the Easton technology in it. Baseball bats and less shock and all that kind of stuff. They're made of an aerospace aluminum tube. The upper 2/3 is covered with a polyurethane cover. So when you hit your cymbals or your drums and your hoops, you're going to protect them from getting damaged. They sound like wood when you hit them together.
Yeah, they do.
They rebound about 5% better, so you can play faster.
Nice.
And they last as long as 6 to 10 pair of wood sticks, and then they're going to break. It's usually about 40,000 strokes. And Easton had this really cool machine where they put it on this robot, and they would just see how many times you could hit it before it broke in half. And it was about 40,000 hits.
Wow.
And so they last as long as 6 to 10 pair of wood sticks. So. And it's funny is that it's the only real synthetic drumstick on the market that has superstar endorsees. So we got guys like Tommy Lee from Motley Crue, Phil Rudd from AC/DC, Mick Fleetwood Mac, Tico
All
Torres
using
from Bon
these
Jovi.
sticks.
Yep. And we just got Kent Slucher from Luke Bryan a couple months ago. He was complaining about pain. And one of the cool things with our sticks is that it really helps guys with pain. So it kind of reduces them because they have half the shock of a wood stick.
Half the shock.
Yeah, because we.
And tell us about that?
Inside the handle right here, you can see these little 2 pinpoints.
Well, our audience can't see them, but let's describe it a little bit.
And basically what it is, we load a secret powder in there.
Really?
It absorbs shock. And
Secret powder?
It's a powder. It's an engineered powder.
Don't open those sticks,
I
please.
won't. Don't.
Yeah, it's a secret,
You'll get
by
it.
the
You'll
way.
go, what is this? It feels liquidy, but it's not.
Yeah.
And that's what absorbs the shock. And
Neat.
we had Peter Criss in the late 90s and early 2000s who switched to our sticks because he had a severe problems with his wrist. I think it was either arthritis or something. And what we actually did for him is we made him a really light, skinny stick on his right hand and a regular stick on his left. He had really small hands, so we gave him a small glove on his left hand, which we make, and then we gave him an extra large glove on his right hand. And then he wrapped his hand so he could play. So we gave him another 8 years of playing with
Really?
Kiss. Yeah, and then he had to
Wow.
retire after that. It was just too devastating for him.
Wow, so you drummers out there, take heed.
All you country music drummers,
Yeah.
definitely. You wind up. Now
This
these
is
are
a good
called
product.
Ahead.
Ahead drumsticks, right?
Okay.
We make a lot of other products too. We make we manufacture these right in our facility. This is a really cool product. It's called the Speed Kick Beaters, and what it does is you put this on any pedal, and you pop on the beater head, and you can adjust any height. So basically, if you want to go faster, you push it all the way down. If you want to go slower, pull it all the way out.
Okay.
And then you can pop on a different head. We make
This is for the bass drum.
for the bass drum.
For your
we got
foot
different
pedal.
beater heads you can pop on the pedal and get different sounds like wire brushes or bamboos or whatever. So
Nice.
And Bob, you're a distributor. You're a wholesale distributor.
yeah, Ahead Products is our brand, one of our brands. We have about 10 of our own brands, and Big Bang Distribution distributes. So we distribute to about 1,500 stores in the USA.
Nice.
And we also ship to 72 other countries who are also distributors.
And can people buy this stuff online as well?
Yeah, they can go to the Ahead Drumsticks site or Big Bang Distribution site or Ahead Armor Cases site, and they can order there. And what it does is, because we support all of our dealers in the United States, which is, I think, important because you want retail stores to be around.
Sure.
And they can order right from our website. And we have 600 guys that are part of the Kibo program, 600 dealers, and they'll see a deal go up. They can grab the deal if they're closest in zip code, so they get first choice, and they supply right to their customers. So
What website do they go to?
they can go
Find your
to
product.
aheaddrumsticks.com or bigbangdist.com or aheadarmorcases.com. So those are 3 of our sites.
And
Very
what
cool.
retail stores are you in?
We're in Guitar Center, Sam Ash, Musician's Friend, Sweetwater.
I've never heard any of those.
I know.
I'm just kidding.
If they sell drums, they got our stuff. So,
Yeah.
You gotta,
That's major, man. That's all the good major stores right there.
Have you suffered or been injured by someone else's negligence? When you need a legal team that will stand up for what is right, won't give up the fight and obtain justice, call 818-886-6600. Mandell Trial Lawyers specializes in personal injury cases of all types. Whether it's a car accident, product or premises liability, dog bite, or a catastrophic injury, Mandell Trial Lawyers are there for you when the fight is worth it. Call now for your free consultation. 818-886-6600. Let the scales of justice tip in your favor.
And you're selling drums too?
we just relaunched the Rodgers Drums, which was has been around since the 1800s, and they kind of went down the drain when CBS bought them out in the early 70s, I think it was, and it just kind of died. And it changed hands a couple of times, and then a really well-known company, they're out of Taiwan. They're actually one of the biggest manufacturers of hardware. They make all the chrome stands and everything for almost everybody. And so they bought it. And they approached me and asked me if I wanted to be part of the development and distribution. So we brought on the Rodgers Dynasonic snare drum. We introduced the pedals, hardware, and we got drum kits coming out at the end of the year. So we're
Very
excited.
cool.
Nice.
Now, they were the one major competitor to the Ludwig drums at one point, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They were big. They were. I mean, you
They
got
were
Buddy
huge.
Rich, Louis Bellson, everybody using
Yeah.
Rodgers drums. So,
Right.
and we just did a trade show last week at Sweetwater, and they came. We had so many customers saying, "That was my very first drum kit. Are you going to make the red wine ripple or the
Nice.
Red wine ripple.
Yeah, and so everybody's excited about it. I think we're doing it right. We're making sure everything's up to spec, and we're just bringing it up to this century. Developing it. So
Bob, you started out teaching drums, right?
I taught drums. I taught drums for about 18 years. I opened 2 retail stores, and you mentioned Ross Garfield, and he was a good friend of ours. And
Right. I
we
grew up
worked
with Ross.
And we
right?
worked at the same store for a while, and I just taught. And I think after the earthquake, I just said, I'm done. I don't want to do retail anymore. So I was just tired of it.
But
so.
were you a professional drummer at one point?
I toured. I did a lot
Yeah.
of drumming, but a lot of teaching. Studied at Cal State Northridge. I studied music there, and then I also studied business.
And do you still play?
I still play, and I actually still teach a couple of guys a week, so it's fun.
Nice.
I enjoy
But
it.
then how did you transition to becoming an entrepreneur like this?
Well, I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always had my own business. I've always been just a private teacher, and I just developed that into manufacturing products, refurbing old drums. I was really into collecting old drums, and people would bring their drums to our shop. I'd refurb them, and it just was a transition. And when I get approached by other companies that know me, they ask me to help them develop things. So we do a lot of licensing. Like there was one product that Larry does here, which is so cool. I licensed this little thing called the Clip It key,
Right,
And you
right.
and we attach a drum key to it, and I think Guitar Center gives one of these away on every drum set that they sell. But you can clip
Oh,
it to your
yeah.
shirt or clip it to your stand or
Right.
whatever.
Another thing my brother did for you.
Secret,
That's
yeah.
our
This
our
is-
patent. That's
Yeah.
our little clip that we patented.
Right, you can
I
hear
love
it
that. So
clicking.
we try to get little cool products and develop them and make them useful for drummers.
Right. Well, you mentioned Ross Garfield, and I just so our audience knows people we're talking about. This is a man that I grew up with, and he became very famous as someone who would tune and specially set up drums for recordings for artists performing, right?
Big time.
Right, and
yeah.
he was known or is known as the drum doctor.
He sure is.
Yeah, and so he was a colleague of yours. And
Yeah.
is he someone who uses your products?
He uses
as well?
a lot of our products. In fact, he got one of our Rodgers drums recently, so he said he was going to do a full review on it, which is we're excited about. But I know he gets a lot of products from us that he uses in his backline stuff that he does for drummers.
Yeah,
So Bob, you
nice.
started out with one for this business, a head drumsticks, etc. You started out with one little like rental type unit,
Yeah.
like a commercial strip type setup. Yeah, I remember that.
Right.
And now what is it?
We have 8 buildings there, and
Wow.
and we're going to probably add a 9th one in the first of the year when we start getting drum sets in. So we we do a lot of stuff there. A lot of drum cases. We do so many different things. It's a lot to manage, but I got my son working for us, Ryan, and my daughter Christine. She does all our graphic design and catalogs and books and things like that. And my wife works for us too. So it's like a family.
So it's a family business, but it's burgeoning and growing leaps and bounds.
Yeah. Well, we try to keep it slow because you don't want to grow too fast. So we're just
Right.
like taking it as the right speed, maybe.
Yeah. So what is the most difficult hurdle that here you are, you're starting off as a drummer and drum teacher, and you're transitioning to someone who's really in the thick of running a business and a growing business. So what are the kinds of challenges that you face doing that? From a legal standpoint, from a financial standpoint, what have been, if someone's out there right now listening and they got this idea or they got this little tiny business that they want to grow, what can you share with them?
I think NDAs or non-disclosure agreements are really common for me. I get a lot of customers who say, hey, I heard about you. I want you to help me develop my product. I'm pretty ruthless with them. If I don't think it's worth them spending the money on a patent, I'll just say, don't waste your time. Here's why, and I can cite a whole bunch of other competitive products. I do a lot of those. I probably do maybe 20 or 30 of those a year.
I see.
People
So
approach you,
They'll approach me.
and they'll say, I have a great idea for a
Right.
drum product of
Right.
some sort.
Right, and I'd say 1 out of 20 are pretty cool. And I really try to steer them away from like spending that money on a patent because it doesn't necessarily have to happen. Also, making sure that I have good agreements with my guys. If I'm going to license something, a lot of times they're handshake agreements. Basically they know me, they referred. But sometimes I got to have a contract and say, hey, this is what's going to happen. And you got to be able to get the right guys like you to help you out with a contract.
Have a lawyer in the mix. Yeah.
Exactly. Have a lawyer that you trust and that you
Get it in writing.
Yeah,
most
get it
of the
right.
time, unless
Yeah.
it's somebody you super trust.
I totally agree with that. If it's
So-
in writing, you're covered.
Right. So even if they're not approaching you, and someone has an idea, and it may not have anything to do with drums or music or anything, but just in a general sense, somebody who is trying to develop their business like you did, one of the first things you would tell them, I guess, is, hey man, have a lawyer in the mix, or at least have your non-disclosure agreement at the ready,
Exactly.
so that somebody cannot or is going to have a much harder time ripping you off.
Yeah, and I've been ripped off before. I mean, I've done a trade show, and I'd introduced a microphone holder that goes inside your drum, and I'm not going to mention the company or the name, but they came back to me the next year and said, oh, by the way, you patented that. Yeah, you can't sell it anymore.
So they stole it.
They stole it from me. And it was like, all right, I get it. And you know what? It's not the kind of product that you're going to make millions on. So sometimes you got to look at the end result. How many are we going to sell? Is it worth spending the money on a patent?
Yeah.
And just an NDA really helps. But I had that with laser drumsticks. I had laser sticks with a laser coming out of them. We brought them at a show, and some farmer guy in Iowa said, "Hey, I patented that." I go, "Well, I showed that like 3 years ago, and it was in Modern Drummer, and it was reviewed, so I'm covered." So I'd say doing things in writing, like you said, like getting a review in a magazine or a publication, something that proves when you started, when you did it, that can protect you also. So
That's true, because I don't think that necessarily a patent protects the person, the first person to get that patent, if you can show that you developed it first. Or am I wrong on that?
I think it's a good start, let's face it.
Well, yeah, you got to do that.
The problem with the patent is this: you can get a patent, but will you defend it? And it's going to cost you a lot of money to defend it.
Yeah.
And the patent world is completely different than the kind of law that I think you guys are doing.
Right.
But you got to say, am I willing to defend my patent? And when I have agreements with people, I just in the agreement I say, listen, I'm going to do the product, but you got to protect your patent. It's your responsibility.
That's
and if you
right.
fail to do it, I'm not going to pay you royalty anymore.
Yeah.
It's basically clear as that. If you can't defend it, and they don't know what they're up against with that.
That's right.
It's
Yeah,
a big-
because if it's a big company
Oh yeah.
coming at you with a lot of lawyers,
Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly. So
just lawyer you out of the deal.
That's true.
and it happens.
And there are lots of lawyers and lots of different kinds of lawyers, and you got to make sure you have the right one. So if, like, for instance, someone comes to Larry and I, with a deal like that now, we might not even write the letter, We might just say, hey, we got the guy for you,
And
our friend
Larry's
down
done
the
that for me
street.
before.
Yeah.
I've asked
Disclosure.
him, can you help me with this? He goes, I'm not the guy, but here's a great guy. He referred me to somebody else, and
Right.
it worked. It worked out great. So
That's right.
a good referral is always helpful.
Well, you got to make sure that you're doing it right. That to try and Mickey Mouse it or do it cheaply these days with all the odds stacked against you. It's not right.
We're Larry and Rob Mandell, the brothers-in-law, here on Go Country 105. Do you have a legal issue you need help with? We want to hear from you.
Find us on Instagram and send us a message. Then tune in on Saturdays at 8 a.m. right here on Go Country 105.
What do you think caused your business to blossom? I mean,
I
you
think-
start very...
Besides having some... I was going to say a
Badass.
bad... Oh, we said a bad word on
Yeah.
the radio.
I said big ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just dig your
Ask.
hole deeper, man.
Yeah.
Just keep saying it. No, but
So
yeah,
what-
but without
what-
besides having phenomenal drumsticks, I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think the biggest thing for us that it's our reputation, and if we have a warranty issue or someone comes back to us and say, "Hey, I broke my sticks in 5 days," we immediately handle it. That's the first thing on our list. We before we ship any new orders, we make sure we take care of our problems and make sure they're taken care of correctly, and that's to me critical. Customer support, and I think that's important. Your integrity is important, and making sure that when we introduce a product, we've spent time. I've got 5 drummers working for me, and so we get the product. We play with it, we test it, we think about it, and a lot of us have experience. There's a guy who works for me who worked for Guitar Center for many years, and he was one of the assistant buyers, so he knows what people are looking for. So
the drumsticks have different weights and...
Yeah, we make about 30 different sizes, different lengths, different weights, different balances. We can front load the tips with anti-vibration up there, cork it up front, put a bigger shot back here, smaller shot.
And why do you do this?
Well, because
what's
balance.
the purpose?
It's like shoes. Everybody's got a different size. They got a different feel. They grip the sticks maybe incorrectly, or they have to play to compensate for things like that.
Okay.
So it's just a sizing thing. Or they need more power. Like Tommy Lee uses a really long stick with a lot of top heaviness, and he just hits hard, but he doesn't break his sticks. One of the cool things about him in the very beginning, and this was about 25 years ago, I had a letter from Peisty, sent us a letter saying thank you for letting him use those sticks.
Nice.
And I said, why? Because he was blowing through 12 to 24 cymbals a year.
Oh, wow.
And when he used our
Breaking
sticks,
cymbals?
he was busting cymbals. And he switched to our sticks, and his breakage dropped by probably 90%.
Oh, wow.
And it was really a cool thing. It was a nice thing. So
But wasn't it cool on stage to break a cymbal and kind of
Like a guitar.
it's not like a guitar where you can, you're breaking a cymbal, man. That's a projectile. That you don't want to get anywhere near.
probably.
Liability.
Yeah.
That's a liability.
Another legal
Rob.
case for us, Larry.
We'll write a letter.
Yeah. So what I want to do is talk about our tip of the day, I guess.
Let's have the tip of the day.
You can read it, Larry, but I just do want to say this has absolutely nothing to do with drumming, but it is summer now. So take it away, Brother Larry.
So it's summertime. That means you could get sunburned if you're not careful. Sunblock should be applied to dry skin and reapplied in minutes that the SPF on the bottle says. For example, if your sunblock
Wait,
says...
what'd you just say?
The SPF, that's the...
SPF.
SPF.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
I have no idea what that means, but anyway, go
it's
ahead.
the amount of protection.
All right.
For example, if your sunblock says it has some protection factor of SPF of 70, then it needs to be reapplied in 70 minutes. I didn't know that.
I never knew that either.
Yeah. So have fun out there in the sun, but protect your skin. You don't want to look old before your time.
Right. Now, there were some cases against, weren't there? Maybe they were some kind of regulatory case against manufacturers of sunblock.
Right.
For putting big promises on their bottles that really they weren't living up to.
Yeah, I don't know
Did you
where
hear
that
about
went.
that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Do you use sunblock every day?
I probably should. I'm getting old, and I get out a lot of sun, and all kinds of weird things are showing up on my skin now. So
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah. Well,
But,
there it is.
tip of the day,
That's why I'm
take
on
heed.
radio, brother.
Yeah.
So,
All right, but you know what? And our next segment is a true or
say
false.
that again.
segment.
Yeah.
And it's a
Next.
true or false, Rob. I want you to tell us about a law in Ohio.
Okay. Well, seeing how it is Ohio, I believe anything, but I'm going to ask this to Bob.
Yeah.
Bob, true or false, man? In Cleveland, Ohio, it is illegal for women to wear patent leather shoes in public.
Gosh, that's a tough one. But I would have to say yes.
What do you?
It's so weird.
is it
We,
true
we
or
have to.
false?
We have to look at producer Cam for.
And I say it's true.
It-
And you know why I know it's true? I'll tell you
Why?
why. Because when I was in Spanish class in junior high school, the girls were not allowed to wear patent leather shoes.
Wow.
And the reason it was, what do you think?
because of the reflection.
Yeah, you could look up the
Look up a
dress.
skirt.
Kind of weird.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
like wearing a mirror.
I would have never thought
what,
that.
What
Thanks,
grade were you in?
I was in like 6th grade.
Okay, I can
Seventh
see
grade.
you in 6th grade looking at those patent leather
No,
shoes,
not me.
man.
But
But
I learned something
you know,
again today.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
yeah.
Don't wear patent
But
leather shoes.
the thing about weird laws like this is, of course, they're not enforceable. They're basically all unconstitutional.
Yeah, they're old.
They're old
the
and,
books,
and
yeah.
people, they'd never be able to make that stick. But anyway, I think what we should do is check the Mandell message box.
Yeah,
right
let's
now.
do it.
Let's check the Mandell message box.
All right, so Casey from Echo Park has messaged us, and she says, the apartment building next door to me is being renovated. The crew has left nails in the street. My tire was one of the victims. Can I hold them responsible for my tire replacement? What do you think?
I say yes.
You do?
Yeah.
And why?
Well, they have a product that they left out, and they should have. It's a nail. They should have.
Yeah, but don't you
taken
just can't, you
precautions.
can encounter a nail anywhere. I mean, can't you just watch where you're driving?
Can they do a DNA test on the nail?
Yeah, let's
Like
do
that?
that. How do we know it's their nail?
Right.
Yeah.
We're gonna match it up with their other nails that are in the house.
Well, maybe, but come on, defend your position, Larry.
That's it. I mean, the position is that if it's their nails and you can trace it to them,
Yeah.
they should be more careful where they leave nails because nails can cause damage, especially to what, Rob?
I don't know.
Tires.
Oh, tires.
Tires. That's right.
But the thing, this goes back to what Bob was talking about, and that is the practicality of something like that. Because this, Casey is going to go up to these mooks on the whatever you want to call them, these Goombas.
Yeah.
And she's going to say, hey, you left a nail out, and you're now responsible for my tire. And what are these guys going to say?
It ain't my nail.
I think they're going to say, "Oh yeah, sue me."
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Now they may be cool and pay for the tire. It's a couple $100, probably 150 to
Yeah.
$200 to replace the tire. So it just may not be a practical thing. It's more of an issue of that we see that a lot.
Right.
The issue of practicality.
Right. Some cases we just won't take because
Doesn't make sense.
It's not going to make sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stay connected with us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and of course, brothersonlaw.com.
So, Bob, we want to tell everybody out there, especially our musician friends and our drummer friends, how do they contact you or how do they find out more about your products?
They can go to our websites. I mean, bigbangdist.com is a big one in it. It'll lead you to the other two websites. You can contact us through there. We get emails all day long. There's 3 or 4 of us looking for them. And we're more than happy to help you out. We normally will refer you to a dealer in your neighborhood because we really like to support the local guys.
That's right.
And if they don't have it, we'll call them up and say, hey, Johnny wants to buy this from you. We'll send it to you, and you sell it to him. So
Perfect.
We try to
And if
take
they-
care of them.
So it's
if they
Big
want these
Bang. Wait a
clips-
minute now. Wait a
Go
minute.
ahead,
now.
Rob.
Big Bang, DIST.
yeah, distribution
.com.
abbreviated.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. All right. Gotcha.
And if they want these clips, they
They're
can get
there.
these. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
it.
Well,
All right.
I guess it's, yeah.
And it's time to wrap up the show. And we
Okay.
want to thank Mr. Bob Kasha for taking the time to come out and spend this morning with us. If you missed any part of this episode or you want to hear any previous episodes, find us on YouTube or brothersonlaw.com.
Please tune in.
Yes.
Next Saturday.
That's right.
At 8 a.m. right here on Go Country 105. And remember to let the scales of justice tip in your favor.
The opinions expressed in the Brothers on Law show are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for personal professional legal advice.